The city was dead. Buildings stood like broken teeth, melted by years of storms. The ground hissed as drops of acid rain fell from the dark sky, eating away at metal, stone, and bone. The smell of burnt air and rust filled every corner. Nothing human should walk here. Nothing human should survive. But he walked. Each step was heavy, slow, and full of pain. His boots smoked where the rain touched them, and the surface of his shield flickered with blue light, pushing the storm back. Without that shield, he would be ash gone in seconds. Behind him, a girl followed, small, silent, and hidden in his shadow. She walked close enough to touch the shield, but not close enough to touch him. Her head was bowed, her thin coat eaten away by the rain. If the shield failed, she would be the first to die. He did not even know her name. He had found her hours ago, standing alone in the ruins of a tower. She had no weapon, no mask, no shield. Yet somehow, she was alive. He should have left her. Everyone knew that carrying someone else was a death sentence. The rain killed, the hunters killed, the world killed. But when he saw her eyes, wide with fear but filled with something more, something hidden, he could not walk away. So now, here they were. He walked, and she followed. The storm was louder than thunder. Drops hit the shield with sharp hissing sounds, each one a reminder that death was only a few steps away. He kept moving, eyes sharp, scanning every corner of the ruined street. The rain was bad, but it was not the worst thing out here. In the fog, shadows moved. He gripped the handle of his weapon, ready. He knew how this world worked. The rain forced people inside, forced the weak to hide, and forced the strong to fight. And whenever the rain grew heavy like this, something always came hunting. Still, he pressed on. The girl had not spoken a single word since he had found her. He wondered if she could even speak. But then, once, as they passed the skeleton of a burned-out car, she lifted her face toward him. Her eyes glowed faintly, not bright, not like fire or light, but enough that for a moment he thought the storm itself reflected in her gaze. He looked away, quickly. He did not want questions. He did not want answers. Not here, not now. The world was full of mysteries, and mysteries got people killed. The streets stretched on, endless and broken. Signs hung twisted, their letters melted away. Old machines lay in the dirt, eaten by rust, their wires like veins spilling into the earth. The rain had been falling for years, but still, the city had not fully died. Something about it lived on. Something about it watched. Every time he turned a corner, he felt it, the weight of unseen eyes. The storm whispered around him, almost like voices carried on the acid wind. Sometimes, he thought he heard words, his name, his past, promises, warnings. He forced the sounds away. It was only the storm, only madness. The girl walked closer now, her breath quick, her steps light. He could hear her shoes slipping on the wet ground. She was small, fragile. He hated himself for bringing her along, hated himself for caring, but he knew the truth. If he left her, she would die, and something inside him refused to let that happen. He raised the shield higher as the storm grew stronger. His arm shook under the pressure, but he pushed forward. Each step was a battle. The acid hissed louder, trying to eat through the light. The shield cracked, just for a second, and one drop of rain passed through. It hit his shoulder, burned through armor, and scorched his skin. He bit back a cry, his teeth grinding. He did not slow down. The girl gasped softly, and for the first time, her hand touched the edge of his coat. She was holding onto him now, clinging to the one thing that kept her alive. He felt her fear, and in her silence, he also felt something else, something heavier, something that made his chest tighten. This was not just a child, not just a lost survivor. Something about her was wrong. The shadows in the rain seemed to follow them more closely. Now, he heard the scrape of claws on broken stone, the low growl of machine lungs pulling air. They were being hunted. And yet, the girl did not scream. She did not cry. She walked with steady steps, her eyes glowing faintly in the storm. And for one moment, he thought, just for one moment, that she was leading him, not the other way around. He pushed the thought away. Madness, only madness still. In his mind, a question grew like fire. Who was she? And why did he feel that the storm itself bent around her as they walked? The rain fell harder. The shield flickered. The shadows drew closer. And deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. The ruins stretched on, endless and cruel, like the bones of a dead giant scattered across the earth. The man walked with steady steps, his shield glowing faint blue against the black sky, keeping the storm at bay. The rain hissed, melted, and died before it could reach their skin. But every second felt like a race against time. His breath was heavy, his jaw clenched, and though his eyes scanned the streets, his mind could not stop drifting toward the girl. Behind him, she was still silent, silent in a way that was unnatural, almost inhuman. Children cried. They stumbled, they begged for comfort. But this one, she followed with calm, unbroken steps, as if she had walked through storms all her life. Her thin body shivered, yet her eyes, those strange glowing eyes, never lost focus. The man tried not to look back, tried not to ask the questions that burned inside his chest. In this world, questions were dangerous. Questions pulled you off. The path made you weak. Survival meant keeping your head down, moving forward, and never turning to face the shadows. And yet, every time the girl's gaze touched him, he felt as though the shadows were already watching. They crossed a wide street where the asphalt was cracked open, a deep scarf filled with steaming water. Once, cars must have roared across it. Now the rusted skeletons of those machines lay half buried in the sludge. The man raised his shield higher, signaling the girl to wait, then jumped across the gap. His boots landed with a hiss, steam rising where acid rain struck the edges of his armor. He turned and held out his arm. For the first time, she hesitated. Her small face tilted up, eyes burning faintly in the storm. And for a heartbeat she looked older than she was. He felt as if she were measuring him, weighing something in her mind. Then she stepped forward and leapt. Her hand caught his arm with surprising strength, and he pulled her across. The ground shook faintly beneath their feet. The man froze, scanning the fog around them. The storm was thick here, pressing against the shield, distorting the world in liquid shadows. He felt the weight of eyes again, heavier this time, closer. He tightened his grip on his weapon. The girl clung to his arm a moment longer, then let go, her expression unreadable. They moved on. The ruins grew denser, buildings leaning toward each other like dying men whispering secrets. Acid rain carved black trails down their walls, dripping into the empty windows. The man could feel the city's silence pressing in, broken only by the steady hiss of the storm. Then, faintly, he heard something else, a scrape, metal on stone. He halted, one arm out to block the girl. She stopped immediately, her eyes wide, her body perfectly still. The sound came again, closer this time, a dragging noise, slow and deliberate, echoing in the hollow streets. The man raised his shield higher, his weapon ready. He knew that sound. Hunters, shapes shifted in the fog. Long limbs, shining teeth, eyes that glowed faint red in the storm. The man cursed under his breath. He had hoped they would not cross this part of the ruins. The hunters loved the storm. The rain made them stronger, faster, more vicious. One of the beasts stepped into view. Its skin was slick metal and rotting flesh, fused together by cruel hands. Claws dragged across the stone, carving sparks, its head tilted, sniffing the air, and its eyes locked on the faint blue glow of the shield. The man tightened his grip, muscles tense. The girl did not scream, did not move. She only stared at the beast, her faintly glowing eyes meeting its burning red. The man felt a chill crawl down his spine. The beast hissed. Others answered in the fog. He moved first, his weapon swung in. A sharp arc, blue light tearing across the beast's chest. Sparks flew, acid rain sizzling against its body as it shrieked. Another leapt from the side. Claws aimed for his throat, but the shield flared and threw it back with a burst of light. The girl stood frozen, her gaze locked, watching with eerie calm as he fought. His blade cut through metal and bone, his shield cracking under the storm, every strike echoing in the ruins. He felt his body burning, his strength fading. But he did not stop. When the last beast fell, its body melting into the acid water, silence returned. The man's chest rose and fell hard, sweat mixing with rain burn on his skin. His shield flickered, almost dying. He cursed softly, forcing it back online with trembling fingers. Then he turned to the girl. She was still staring at him, her face pale, her eyes glowing brighter now than ever. For the first time, she spoke. "You are strong." Her voice was soft, almost musical, but there was something strange beneath it, something that did not belong to a child. The man's blood ran cold. He opened his mouth to ask who she was, but the words died. A sound rose in the distance, low, deep, and terrible. Not the hunters. Something bigger. Something worse. The girl turned her head toward the sound, and in the glow of her eyes, he saw no fear, only knowledge. The man felt the storm pressing harder on his shield, felt the ground tremble beneath his boots, and for the first time, he realized the girl was not just following him, she was leading him, and he did not know if that would save him or destroy him. The sound grew louder with every step, echoing through the hollow streets like the beating of a monstrous heart. The man tightened his grip on his weapon and scanned the fog. He knew the hunters never worked alone. What he had killed was only the beginning. The storm itself seemed to pulse, as if it carried the creatures inside its breath. The girl stayed close, almost too close now, her small hand brushing against his coat. Her glowing eyes never left the shifting shadows, and her calmness unsettled him more than the danger ahead. A child should fear, a child should cry, but she walked like someone who already knew the outcome, as if she had seen this before. The scrape of claws came again, then another, then 10 more. Shapes appeared in the fog, red eyes blinking in the dark rain. The hunters moved low to the ground, their limbs stretching longer than human bones, their skin a grotesque fusion of steel and decayed flesh. They circled in silence, waiting. The man raised his shield, rain spitting against it in furious hisses. His heart pounded, but his stance was steady. One hunter lunged. Its claws raked across the shield with a screech, sparks bursting into the storm. The man countered, driving his blade upward, cutting through the beast's jaw. It screamed, acid, blood spraying, burning holes into the cracked asphalt. Another rushed from the side. He pivoted, barely in time, the shield flashing as it blocked the strike. But the impact cracked the energy field, sending ripples across the light. The girl gasped, but did not move away. Her glowing eyes reflected the beast's, steady and unafraid. The man swung again, his blade tearing through another hunter's chest. The creature fell, its body convulsing as the acid rain devoured it. But the others pressed closer, their snarls echoing like broken machines. There were too many. He gritted his teeth. His arm burned from holding the shield high. His breath came hard, the storm pressing down on him like a weight. Each strike was slower than the last, and still, the girl stood silent, staring at the battle as if testing him. A hunter leapt high, claws aimed for her. His body moved before his mind could think. He threw himself between them, shield flaring as claws slammed into the barrier. The impact drove him to his knees, the shield nearly shattering. He roared and forced the blade upward, cutting the beast in two. The girl had not moved an inch. For the first time, anger burned in his voice. "Run!" He shouted, but she only shook her head. Her voice was quiet, yet it pierced through the storm. "No, they are not after me. They are after you." The words froze him. A beast lunged again, dragging him back into the fight. He slashed, blocked, cut, and shoved, every motion driven by pure survival. His muscles screamed, his lungs burned, but still he fought. The girl's strange words lingered in his mind, twisting his thoughts as the battle dragged on. Why him? Why not her? Why did she speak as though she knew their purpose? Another strike cracked his shield, sparks flashing. A hunter's claws grazed his arm, slicing through armor and flesh. Blood mixed with rain, sizzling against the acid ground. He staggered, but did not fall. The girl's eyes flared brighter, reflecting the storm itself. She whispered words too soft for him to hear, and the rain around her seemed to slow. For one heartbeat, drops curved away from her, as if the storm refused to touch her. The hunters noticed. They turned their red eyes on her, snarling louder, their bodies twitching with rage. The man saw it. He knew what it meant. Whatever she Was whatever power hid in her silence. The creatures hated it, and they would not stop until it was gone. "Stay behind me," he growled, though he already knew she would not listen. The largest of the beasts moved forward, taller than the others, its body more machine than flesh, glowing veins of acid pulsing under its skin. It roared, a sound that shook the ground, and charged straight for them. The man braced his shield. The impact slammed into him like a wall, driving him back. The force nearly tore the shield from his arm, the blue light shattering into fragments. He struggled to hold on, every muscle screaming. His blade lashed out, but the beast was stronger, faster, relentless. The girl stepped forward. "No," he shouted, but she did not stop. Her glowing eyes locked on the beast, and for the first time, her voice rose in power. "Enough." The storm bent. The rain slowed around her, curving away from her body. The beast faltered mid-strike, its claws hovering inches from her face. Its red eyes flickered. Confusion breaking through rage. The man took the chance. His blade drove deep into its chest, cutting through metal and bone. The creature screamed, collapsing into the acid water, its body hissing and melting. Silence followed. The other hunters backed away, growling low, their red eyes flickering with something that almost looked like fear. One by one, they slipped back into the fog, vanishing as if swallowed by the storm. The man stood panting, blood dripping from his arm, his shield sparking faintly. He turned to the girl, staring at her glowing eyes, at the rain bending away from her skin. "What are you?" he whispered. The girl looked at him, her expression calm, her voice soft as ever. "You will see soon," she said, "but you must keep walking." The storm raged on, but something had shifted. He felt it in his bones. The danger was not behind them, it was ahead. And whatever the girl was, she was the key to it. He had saved her life, but now, he wondered if that decision would be the end of his. The bunker was almost hidden, swallowed by the ruins of collapsed concrete and steel. He spotted it only because the storm briefly thinned, showing a dark crack in the wall of a broken tower. Without thinking, he pulled the girl inside, lowering the shield. As soon as they crossed the threshold, the blue light flickered weakly, then died, leaving only the sound of dripping water and the distant hiss of rain outside. The air inside was damp, filled with the smell of rust and mold. Broken pipes jutted from the ceiling like the ribs of some giant skeleton. The place was old, maybe left from the first days of the storms. It was no true shelter, but it was enough. For a few moments, at least, the rain could not reach them. The man dropped to one knee, his arm shaking from the weight of the shield. He pulled it free and set it down, sparks still crackling along its frame. His breathing was ragged. Blood stained his sleeve where the hunter's claws had torn through, sizzling faintly where drops of acid rain had touched it. The girl stood a few steps away, her glowing eyes cutting through the dark. She was calm again, too calm. The storm had nearly killed them both, yet she looked untouched, as if danger itself bent around her. He watched her carefully, his chest tight with questions he had no strength to voice. After a long silence, she spoke. "You should not have saved me." Her voice was low, soft, almost lost in the hollow bunker. But it struck him harder than the claws of any hunter. His head turned sharply, his eyes narrowing. "What do you mean?" She looked at the dripping wall, not at him. "If they find us together, they will kill you. Faster than the storm. Faster than the hunters." Her words carried no fear, only certainty, like someone reciting a truth written long ago. The man's jaw clenched. He wanted to demand answers, wanted to shake the truth out of her. But something about her presence made him hesitate. She was too young to speak with such weight, too fragile to hold so much knowledge. Yet her glowing eyes did not lie. He leaned back against the wall, trying to slow his breathing. His voice came rough. "Tell me your name." The girl was silent for a moment. Then, at last, she whispered it. The sound of it froze him. It was a name he had not heard in years, a name spoken only in whispers, a name tied to stories of fire and death. His blood turned cold, his thoughts racing. No, it could not be, not here, not her. The girl turned her gaze to him. In the faint glow of her eyes, he saw sorrow. "You know it," she said softly. He did, and he wished he didn't. The storm outside roared louder, as if answering her words. The sound of claws scraped faintly against the concrete above, but it was distant, circling, waiting. The man tightened his grip on his weapon even though his hands trembled. He spoke carefully, his voice low. "Why are you here? Why were you alone in the city?" The girl lowered her head. "I left. I was not meant to leave, but I had to see what they did to the world." The words sank deep, each one heavier than the last. The man felt his chest tighten. He thought of the ruined streets, the melted bones, the endless storm. And now, standing before him, was a child who spoke as if she belonged to the very heart of that destruction. She raised her small hand and touched the wall. Acid dripped down the concrete, eating through the surface but near her fingers. The flow slowed. For a heartbeat, the storm seemed to hesitate. Then it continued, hissing down the wall, but he had seen it. He pushed himself to his feet, anger burning through his fatigue. "What are you?" His voice echoed in the hollow bunker. Louder than he intended. Her glowing eyes lifted to him, unblinking. "Not what? Who? You already know." He took a step back, his heart pounding harder now than during the fight. He wanted to deny it, wanted to believe this was madness, that the storm and the pain were twisting his mind. But he could not unhear her name. He could not unsee the way the rain bent from her touch. Silence pressed between them. The bunker walls groaned as the storm outside grew heavier. The claws above scraped again, closer this time. The girl did not move. She only watched him, as if waiting for his choice. The man's thoughts raced. If she was who she claimed, then the danger was beyond anything he could fight. If he stayed with her, he was marked for death. But if he left her, would the storm itself punish him? His hands shook on his weapon. For the first time in years, he felt fear not of the storm, not of the hunters, but of the truth standing in front of him. The girl's voice broke the silence. "The overseer will find us soon." The name was poison. The man's eyes hardened. No one spoke of the overseer aloud. No one dared. Yet this child spoke it with ease, as if it belonged to her tongue. The bunker trembled faintly, dust falling from the ceiling. The storm howled louder, as if the name itself had called it closer. The man stared at the girl, his breath heavy, his mind unraveling. He had saved her. He had carried her through death. And now, he realized, he had walked willingly into a secret, far deadlier than the rain. The girl lowered her eyes. "You cannot go back now," she whispered. And deep inside, he knew she was right. The storm did not rest. Even inside the broken bunker, its voice pressed in through every crack. 1,000 drops hissing as they ate through the ruined city. The man sat against the wall, his weapon across his knees, his arm still bleeding where claws had torn him. He tried to steady his breath, tried to calm the fire of questions inside his chest, but every glance at the girl reignited them. She stood near the broken doorway, her glowing eyes fixed on the rain outside. The faint light from them shimmered against the wet concrete. She looked fragile, too small for this dead world, and yet the storm itself seemed to bow around her. He finally spoke, his voice rough. "Tell me the truth. What were you hiding?" She did not turn. Her small fingers traced a crack in the wall where rainwater dripped in. The liquid slowed under her touch, losing its hiss, as if obeying her. She whispered, almost to herself, "The rain is not nature. It is punishment." The man's blood chilled. He pushed himself up, ignoring the pain in his arm. "What do you mean?" Her eyes flickered brighter. "The overseer makes the storm. The sky is his weapon. The rain is his command. Every drop falls where he wills it." The name was like a knife in the air. He felt the bunker tighten around him, as if the very walls recoiled. He had heard the rumors, all of his life stories of a figure who controlled the sky, who ruled through fear and silence. No one ever spoke the name, yet here she was, a child, saying it with certainty. He gritted his teeth. "How would you know that?" At last she turned, meeting his eyes. "Because I am his daughter." The words hit harder than the storm outside. For a moment, he could not breathe. His mind rebelled, searching for denial, but the truth glowed in her eyes. The storm bent for her, the hunters hated her, and the name she carried was the one that ruled the world. His weapon slipped slightly in his hand. Every instinct told him to leave, to run before the overseer's gaze found him here. But another instinct, deeper, stronger, chained his feet to the floor. He had carried her this far. He had saved her. Could he walk away now, even knowing what she was, before he could speak? The ground shook. Dust rained from the ceiling. The storm outside grew louder, almost a roar. He moved to the doorway, weapon ready, his shield sparking faintly as he raised it. Through the acid mist, he saw shadows moving. Not hunters this time. Larger shapes. Machines. Sentinels. He cursed under his breath. These were not wild beasts. These were servants of the overseer. The girl stepped beside him, her calm unsettling. They know I left. They are searching. The man's jaw tightened. Then they'll find you. And me with you. She looked at him with eyes full of sorrow. You should go. If you leave me now, they might spare you. His grip on his weapon hardened. I don't leave people to die. Her lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to argue. But no words came. She only looked at him, silent and unreadable, as the storm screamed louder. The first sentinel appeared through the mist, tall, with a body of black steel and burning red eyes. Its legs melted into the ground with every step, the acid storm feeding its strength. Behind it came another, then another. Their movements slow but unstoppable. The man's shield flared weakly. He knew it was nearly broken. His strength was fading. The fight against hunters had drained him. And these machines were built for war. His chances were none. And yet, he stepped forward. The girl's voice was soft, trembling for the first time. Why? He did not look at her. His eyes stayed on the machines. Because you're alive. And that's reason enough. The sentinels raised their weapons, long arms shifting into blades that gleamed even through the storm. The man braced his shield, ready to fight until it shattered. Then the girl lifted her hands. The rain slowed. The hiss of acid grew quiet, as if the storm itself held its breath. Drops froze in the air, bending around her small frame. For one impossible moment, the sky seemed to break its own law. The sentinels faltered. Their red eyes flickered. The man turned his head slightly, shock breaking through his focus. She stood there, her face pale, her glowing eyes burning brighter than he had ever seen. The storm bent to her. Her voice rose, steady now, carrying. Through the bunker like a command, leave. The sentinels trembled. Their massive forms jerked, sparks bursting from their joints. One by one, they turned, their bodies twisting in unnatural movements, and walked back into the storm. The mist swallowed them whole, their red eyes vanishing into the distance. Silence returned. The man's shield lowered, his arm shaking. He stared at her, words lost in his throat. She had done what no one believed possible. She had stopped the storm's servants. The girl's glow faded, her shoulders trembling. She leaned against the wall, her face pale. For all her power, she was still a child, still fragile. The man stepped toward her slowly, his voice rough. You control it. She shook her head weakly. No, it controls me, and soon, he will know where I am. The storm outside roared again, louder than before, as if answering her words. The man's hand tightened on his weapon. His choice was clear. He could leave her, save himself, and live in fear of the overseer forever, or he could keep walking beside her and face a storm larger than any he had known. The girl lifted her eyes to him, full of sorrow. You cannot hide from him. No one can. He stared back at her, his breath heavy, his heart torn, and deep inside, he knew he would not walk away. The storm outside raged like a living thing, hammering the ruined city with endless fire from the sky. The man stood in the bunker doorway, his shield cracked and sparking, his body trembling from wounds and exhaustion. The girl sat near the wall, her glowing eyes dimmed but not gone, watching the storm as though she could hear words inside it. Every instinct in him screamed to leave, to abandon her, to vanish into the ruins before the overseer's gaze found him. Yet his feet would not move. He had carried her this far. He had fought for her. He could not cast her back into the storm, not even knowing who she was. The ground trembled. A deep vibration, slow and steady, rolled through the bones of the city. The girl lifted her head, her face pale. He is reaching. she whispered. The man's throat tightened. What do you mean? Her eyes met his, and though she was young, there was no child in that stare. He knows where I am now. The storm is his hand. Soon, it will close around us. The man gripped his weapon harder, jaw clenched. He had fought hunters. He had faced sentinels. But how could a man fight the sky itself? The thought gnawed at him, but he pushed it down. Survival had never allowed doubt. The bunker groaned. Dust fell from the ceiling, stirred by the vibrations. Outside, the storm shifted. The acid rain striking harder, faster, as though it carried rage. The girl rose, slowly to her feet, her steps unsteady, but her eyes burned bright again. She walked toward the doorway, stopping beside him. The stormlight reflected off her skin, making her look like she was part of it. You still don't understand, she said softly. The storm hates you. It hunts you because you fight it. But it hunts me because it fears me. The man turned his head sharply. Disbelief etched across his scarred face. Fears you. You're a child. She did not flinch. I am his child. That is different. Her words settled heavy in his chest. The overseer's daughter. The blood of the one who ruled the storms. He should not be standing beside her. He should not even be alive after hearing her name. Yet here he was. The storm howled louder, as if mocking his hesitation. From the fog outside, a shape emerged, bigger than the sentinels, a creature of steel and bone, its body dripping acid as if it were born from the rain itself. It moved with crushing weight, claws carving through the broken street. Its eyes burned red like molten fire, fixed on the doorway where they stood. The girl's small hand tightened around his coat. He sends them faster now. He will not stop. The man stepped forward, shield raised though it barely glowed. His arm throbbed with pain, his vision blurred, but he forced his body into readiness. Then we don't stop either. The beast roared. The sound shattered glass, shook the earth, and sent echoes racing through the city. Smaller hunters spilled. From the fog behind it, claws flashing in the stormlight, a tide of death rushing toward them. The man charged, his blade cut into the first hunter, sparks flying as acid blood hissed against the ground. He spun, shield-blocking claws, weapon striking in brutal arcs. Pain seared his arm. His legs felt like stone, but he fought with the last fire in him. The girl stepped out from the bunker. The rain bent around her again, drops curving away in unnatural paths. The hunters snarled, their red eyes fixed on her. Some lunged, only to falter mid-strike as the storm itself hesitated near her. The massive beast thundered forward, its claws slamming down. The man's shield shattered in a burst of sparks, fragments of light scattering like dying stars. The force threw him against the wall, his body screaming in agony. The beast turned its gaze on the girl. She stood still, her glowing eyes burning brighter than ever. She lifted her hands, and for a heartbeat, the storm obeyed. The acid rain stopped mid-air, frozen like glass beads suspended in the wind. Silence fell, sharp and unnatural. The man dragged himself up, his vision swimming. He saw her standing there, fragile and unbroken, commanding the sky itself. The beast roared in confusion, its red eyes flickering. Her voice carried through the silence, calm and steady. Go back. The beast trembled, its claws scraped the ground, its massive body jerking as if chains pulled it into directions. Then, with a scream that shook the ruins, it turned and crashed back into the storm. The smaller hunters followed, vanishing into the fog as quickly as they had come. The rain fell again, harder than before, as if furious at her defiance. The man stared at her, blood on his face, his body broken, but his mind reeling with one truth: she had stopped the storm's army. With nothing but her will, he staggered toward her, his voice hoarse. You could end it. All of it. The overseer, the rain, everything. She looked at him with sadness in her eyes. No, I cannot. He is inside me. His power is mine. But his reach is endless. If I fight him, I become him. The words cut deeper than any claw. The man felt the weight of them, the hopelessness. Yet he also saw something else in her: fear, not of the overseer, but of herself. The storm raged. The ground shook, and the city groaned under the weight of the endless rain. The girl whispered, "He will not stop until I return. and he will burn everything to ashes to bring me back." The man's hands shook on his weapon. The truth was clear now. Saving her had not spared the world. Saving her had doomed it. And yet, as she looked at him, waiting for his answer, he knew he could not let her go. The storm never stopped. It pounded the broken city with endless fury, each drop of acid hissing as it struck the ruins. The man stood in the open, the last shards of his shield flickering weakly round his arm, the weight of his weapon dragging at his side. His body ached, torn by wounds, but his eyes stayed locked on the girl. She stood in the center of the street, her thin frame glowing faintly against the storm. The rain bent around her, unwilling to touch her skin, curving away like it feared. Her eyes burned bright, more alive than ever, but filled with sorrow that seemed too heavy for her age. He had carried her through fire and storm. He had fought beasts of metal and bone, risked his life against the hunters, stood against sentinels, and lived where no one else should. And only now did he realize the truth of his choice. She was not just a child he had saved. She was the storm's blood. She was the overseer's daughter. Her voice broke through the roar of the rain. "You should not have stayed." The man's jaw clenched. His breath came rough, but his voice was steady. "I don't leave people behind." Her gaze softened, but pain lingered there. "Then you will die for me, and he will laugh when he takes me back." The ground trembled underfoot, a low rumble that grew deeper with every second. The storm above twisted, lightning searing across the black clouds, but not the lightning of nature. This was controlled, shaped, deliberate. The overseer was reaching down through the sky itself. The man raised his weapon, though his arm shook. He knew he could not fight what was coming. No blade could cut the sky, but he stood ready, because standing was all he had left. The girl stepped closer. For a moment, she looked small again, just a child lost in the storm. Her hand reached out, trembling, almost touching his burned armor. "Why? Why do you fight for me when you know what I am?" He met her eyes, tired but unbroken. "Because you're not him, not yet. And if I can keep you safe, maybe you never will be." Her lips parted, but no words came, only silence, carried between them on the breath of the storm dot. Then the sky split. Open, a column of light struck the city, burning through the rain, searing everything it touched into ash. The earth shook as buildings collapsed, their skeletons falling into the fire. The sound was deafening, a roar that drowned even the storm. The girl staggered back, her eyes wide. "He's here." The man grabbed her arm, pulling her behind him. Though the act was meaningless, what could his broken shield do against the overseer himself? Yet instinct drove him, the same instinct that had kept him alive through every battle. Protect her, no matter what. The light grew brighter, spreading like claws across the sky. Within it, a shape loomed distant yet vast, a shadow that blotted out the storm. The overseer, not man, not machine, something greater, something impossible. The girl's knees weakened, her glow flickering. She whispered in terror, "He calls me." "I cannot resist him." The man gripped her tighter, his voice a growl. "Then I'll resist for you." But even as he said it, the storm pressed harder. Acid rain slammed against his body, burning through armor, searing flesh. His shield cracked, the last sparks dying in his hand. He dropped to one knee, pain tearing through him. Yet his grip on her never loosened. The overseer's voice rolled across the city, not sound but force, shaking the very air. It echoed inside their bones, inside their thoughts, a voice that was not meant for human ears. "Return." The girl cried out, her body trembling as if invisible chains wrapped around her. She clawed at her head, her glowing eyes dimming. I can't." The man pulled her close, shielding her with his broken body. His voice was raw, shouting into the storm, "She's not yours." The light flared. The world itself seemed to split. In that instant, the girl's glow burst forth again, brighter than ever, brighter than the overseer's fire. For a single heartbeat, the storm bent, the rain stopped, the chains faltered. She screamed, her voice tearing through the night, and the sky itself recoiled. The overseer's shadow flickered. The light cracked. The man stared at her, his body broken, his breath shallow, but hope flaring in his chest. She had fought him. She had resisted, The girl collapsed into his arms, weak, trembling, her eyes fading. I can't hold him off much longer. The storm screamed in fury, the city trembling under its wrath. The overseer would return. Stronger, closer, unstoppable. The man held her tighter, his voice steady even as his strength drained away. Then we keep moving, until the end. The girl's eyes opened faintly, glowing with the last of her power. She whispered, so soft he barely heard it through the roar of the storm, "Will you protect me, even when you know who I am?" He looked at her, his scarred face lit by the storm's fire. His answer came without hesitation. Yes. The storm exploded around them, light swallowing the ruins. The world shook, the future uncertain. And in that chaos, one truth remained: he would not let her go.